I got one of those 30% off coupons from Harbor Freight the other day. So I stopped in to get some sandpaper. I also found this screwdriver set. So the set was $5.99 on the shelf. I got 30% off with my coupon. So I ended up paying $4.19 before tax. So this is the Pittsburgh 12-piece cushion grip screwdriver set. There's the part number. It says chrome vanadium steel, ribbed cushion grip, magnetic tips. And on the back, it says made in China. These are the different sizes you get. All right, let me get them out of the package. I didn't film cutting away all the plastic. There was just too much bad language involved. The first thing I noticed when I got the plastic off is the smell. These have the classic Harbor Freight Chinese rubber smell. All right, this is the biggest one in the set. It says 5/16 by 8 inch. The cushion rubber grip isn't super pliable. Must be some kind of hard rubber. It doesn't feel terrible in the hand. I might prefer it to be a little bit longer of a handle. And this has the hex on the shank for extra torque. Looks like it's chrome plated. The chrome plating stops short of the tip. I don't know if that's to give it extra grip or has something to do with the magnetized tip. Let me get a screw and we'll try it out. Here's a close-up of that tip on the largest flat blade screwdriver. I'm not super impressed with that grind. Seems to be like a bump right there. The other thing I noticed was if it's magnetic, it's not magnetic enough. Oh, barely. It's barely picking that screw up. So it's not super duper magnetic. Not magnetic enough to hold the screw in place. Right. Yeah. I mean, that's not a showstopper for me, but there. Barely magnetic. All right, let's check out this next one. This is a Phillips number 2. It says it's 1.5 inch shank. Stubby. Same thing, the rubber isn't very pliable. The handle feels okay. Here's a close-up of the tip. Let's try that with a screw. That one's definitely more magnetized. I mean, I can move that around a little bit. I think I have to shake it. Oh, I'm shaking that pretty good, actually. And it's not coming loose. Oh, there it goes. So that one's definitely magnetized. All right, the next one in line is this 1/8 inch by 2 inch flat tip. Let's see if this one's magnetic. Huh. Let me just try lifting up a paper clip. Okay, it's magnetic, but not enough. Barely enough to even lift that screw. See? All right, the next one is a 3/16 flat tip by 4-inch shank. Here's a close-up of the tip. It seems like all the rest of them are chromed all the way down the tip. It was just that big one where the chrome stopped. Maybe it was just like a defect or something. Well, that tip's a little more magnetic. It almost holds it. The next one is a number 1 Phillips with a 3-inch shank. Here's the tip. I'll have to look around and see if I have a number 1 Phillips screw. I found this little brass plated steel screw. Looks like it'll work. It seems like the Phillips tips are more magnetized than the standard flat tips. That holds on there pretty good. Again, I'm giving it a pretty good shake. It's not coming off easy. All right. Regular viewers know I'm a big fan of screw holding screwdrivers. So I was pretty excited to find one in this set. It says it's 5/32 tip by 4-inch. And there's the screw holding mechanism. This is all plastic, metal spring, and these feel like they're metal. Let's try this thing out. All right. I'm going to extend the claws out and then let them retract by that spring. I guess it's holding on to it okay. I wish this spring had a little more force to it. Or maybe if those claws were bent more like a 90-degree angle. But seems like it's working. I do like this screw holding design where you can work it sort of remote control from the handle, and you can then fully retract it and use it like a regular screwdriver. I'm just suspicious of the execution of this one. All right, the next one in the set is 1/4-inch standard flat tip by 4-inch. And this one also has that hex on it, so you can add torque. Here's a close-up of the tip. The flat tip screwdrivers in this set haven't been very magnetized. Let's try this one. Oh yeah. It's having a hard time. Barely holding on. See how it does with a paper clip. Well, it's definitely magnetized. All right, this one's 1/8 inch by 4 flat tip. Check out how small diameter that shaft is. Let's see if this has any magnetism to it. It's a little more than the other one. I guess that's a little better. The next one is the screwdriver I would imagine would get the most use in this set. That's a number 2 Phillips with a 4-inch shaft. This one also has the bolster. There's a close-up of the tip. So far, the Phillips tip screwdrivers are a little more magnetic in this set. That's holding it decent. I can't get too violent with it, but it looks like the magnetic feature's working. This next one is a Phillips number 0 with a 3-inch shaft. That's tiny. Maybe that would work on eyeglasses, maybe? I don't know. I'm not going to be able to test this one with a screw. I don't have one that small around. This screw is too big for this Phillips number 0 tip, but it'll let me check out the magnetism. It looks like it's holding it decent. Yeah. I can see me taking this Phillips number 0 and turn it into a pokey thing. This is a 1/4 inch by 1.5 inch stubby. Looks like it's the same size as the Phillips number 2 stubby. I see that. That's holding on to that screw really well. Huh. That one's magnetic. All right, and that brings us to the 12th screwdriver. This is a 3/16 by 6 inch shank. This one's got a different style tip on it. This is the 3/16 by 4 inch that I showed you earlier. That's sort of a standard flat tip screwdriver profile. And here's this 3/16 by 6. See the difference? The tips are the same width, but then this screwdriver is that 3/16 all the way up, where this has been sort of flared out and back down. I think they call this type of tip a cabinet tip. On a cabinet tip screwdriver, the shaft diameter is the same as the tip width, making it ideal for working on recessed screws. This one's barely magnetized. Yeah, it won't hold the screw. Yeah. Might pick up a paperclip. Oh geez, you can barely pick up a paperclip. This is a piece of 3/4 thick pine. I pre-drilled the holes with my trusty Stanley number 45. I'm going to give this Phillips number 2 with the 4-inch shaft a go here. I'm not going to say that this handle is the most comfortable handle I've ever used, but I mean, it works. I wish it was a little bit longer. And this triangular shape back here seems to dig into me a little bit. Maybe I'm just feeling that unevenness in the mold there. Yeah, the way they molded it's a little uneven. Maybe that's what I'm feeling. Well, it definitely does the job, though. Let's try the Phillips number 2 stubby. Well, seems to work okay. It's not bad. Next in popularity to the Phillips number 2 screwdrivers, this 1/4 inch flat tip by 4 is probably the next most popular screwdriver. Let me give that a try. Again, I pre-drilled the hole. Man, something's really bothering me. It's chewing me up. It's that, I don't know, it's the shape. It's this really sharp. Let me see if I can get in close. Get close up of that. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. See how sharp that edge is? Where the two halves were like molded together? That's digging right into my palm. Give me a second. I sanded down that seam with some 600 grit sandpaper and then buffed it with some fine steel wool. Now it feels smooth. All right, where were we? See if this feels better now. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's much better. I can stay on the screw. There we go. Take it out. Let me try driving it again with that butt section all smoothed out. Oh yeah, see, that feels much better. Okay, so it's not really the design of the handle, it was just the execution. It was like a bad mold line there that was hurting me. Now it doesn't feel too bad. These little, I'll call them knurls, these little ribs right here, they seem kind of handy. Kind of get my index finger on those and kind of guide things. I don't think I mind that at all. I kind of like that. So the way this hex drive on the shaft works, say you have a really tight screw, right? You can get a wrench on that hex, and then you get more torque with the wrench to help you loosen the screw. See how that works? I think that's a handy feature. I went and got a wrench that fits the hex. Happens to be 3/8. Oh yeah, even with this little wrench, I can apply a lot of torque. I like that. That's a nice feature. Let me give this screw holding screwdriver a try. All right, it's on there. So the idea of a screw holding screwdriver is I can hold on to that screw from far away and reach in and get it started. And the nice thing about this design is once I get it started, I can release the screw holding mechanism from up by the handle. And then it becomes just a regular screwdriver. Also, if I'm taking the screw out, back here from the handle, oh, look at that. I broke it. Shoot. Let me see if I can pop that back together. All right, so like I was saying, to get a screw out of a remote location, I can open the jaws up, install the screw holding mechanism, unscrew the screw, and then I can work it out of its tight spot. So what do I think of this set? I'm going to start with the negatives. The first negative is that Harbor Freight Chinese rubber smell coming off these rubber grips. I guess if the set's going to live in an outside shop toolbox, maybe the smell wouldn't be such a big deal, and maybe the smell will dissipate over time, but right now, today, it's annoying. The next negative for me is fit and finish. It looks like to me the tip of this largest screwdriver just missed a couple steps in production. The tip is rough. It doesn't feel like it was ground all the way. And it certainly doesn't look like it was chromed all the way up. I mean, if you just compare that to, say, this one. This one looks finished. This one looks like it got missed. The other fit and finish problem I found was the seam on the butt section of the screwdrivers. The two halves don't meet up evenly. And that tended to dig into my palm when I was using the screwdriver. At first I thought maybe it was this shape. So I took one and sanded that seam down and smoothed it out. And now it feels okay. The third negative for me would be execution. The package advertised magnetic tips, and I found the magnetism of each individual tip to vary widely from being okay to being almost non-existent. It's not a showstopper for me, but if you were to buy this set expecting the tips to all be magnetic, you would be disappointed. Another example of poor execution would be this screw-holding screwdriver. It barely works. In fact, it fell apart on me while I was trying to test it. I think this spring is too weak, and all of these plastic parts just aren't made well enough for this thing to be reliable. Okay, now some positives about this set. I like the way this section of the handle is shaped. I like these flutes. Gives me nice grip right there. I also like this hex bolster to be able to put a wrench on and add torque. I think that's a good feature. The other positive, and why I would recommend this set, is that I walked out of Harbor Freight with 12 screwdrivers for less than $5. This set would be ideal for the trunk of your car, or maybe for a dorm or a cabin/RV situation. We have a communal toolbox at work where tools tend to grow legs and walk off, and that's where these are headed. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. So I went ahead and cleaned up this tip. It looks more like it should now. I also took what I consider to be the two most popular screwdrivers, and I polished up these butt sections. I think that's more like what the designer intended for them to look like. And now this set includes a pokey thing.